You're watching Fox 13's Good Day in high definition.
Just want them to make a decision so the fans can get what they want and watch the games.
Pretty confusing, kind of like the debt limit debate. Neither side can get together and settle that either.
You can tell fans are ready for some football, but they are going to have to wait just a little bit longer. The NFL lockout is still in effect for now, although there is some hope on the horizon. But first, they have to get through all the legal drama. And when it comes to legal drama, attorney Felix Vega is pretty much an expert in that.
Thank you, Nerissa.
After all the coverage on the Casey Anthony trial. And Felix, there's no shortage of drama in this case either, I'd say.
That's correct. Basically, the whole lockout situation comes down to three different things. There was one lawsuit that we have right here that was filed by Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and some of the other players. It's a class action lawsuit accusing the NFL of antitrust violations. And basically what happened in that suit, they're alleging the NFL violated several of the antitrust provisions of their agreement between the NFL and the players. Second part of it deals with insurance and damages for the NFL that they were seeking. If in fact the lockout went through, they wanted $4 billion locked up that they could take. The third rail of this deals with retired players' benefits. They want to set aside about $1 billion in benefits and over the next 10 years, and also give $620 million back to retirees before 1993. Your weekend lesson for the weekend for the law, Sherman Antitrust Act. It's actually the law that they're using to sue the NFL. And it was actually a law that was passed back in 1890 to break up oil companies. And that's what they're using today in order to make the suit go forward. Now,
lockouts have actually happened before, and similar lawsuits have been filed before by players. So why does this keep happening?
Basically, every time that there's a dispute between the NFL and the players, they keep going back to this lockout and the antitrust suit. 1972 was the first time that they actually filed a lawsuit under the Sherman antitrust provision. And in that case, it was over a rule that would require teams to pay the previous team of a player that they acquired. The players didn't like that rule. They sued the NFL and they prevailed. It happened again in 1990, again in 1992, and now that brings us to 2011. The current suit, they even complain that the draft is illegal because it prevents teams from competing directly with each other in order to draft players. Another thing that this led to is the lockout. 1982 was the biggest work stoppage in the NFL history. It resulted in only 9 games being played that season. They had a Super Bowl tournament at the end of the season that pitted the Washington Redskins against the Miami Dolphins, and that was the first time in history that 2 losing teams got into the NFL playoffs or a championship. Other time, there was a strike in '87. That really wasn't a lockout because the teams continued to play with replacement players. It caused a lot of grief because there were actually players that crossed the picket line and wanted to play football still.
Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's compare salaries of players past and present.
This was interesting in doing the research. You can see right there on your screen. 1956, the base player salary was $5,000. 1968, 12 years later, it only went up to $9,000 to $10,000. Look at 2010, base salaries owned Josh Freeman, $395,000. Tom Brady, $3.5 million. Some other players, LaRon Landry of the Redskins was pulling in $1.275 million. Halati Nagata of the Ravens, $1.75 million. So you can see the amount of money that they're fighting over. And the lawsuit itself, it centers around $9 billion in revenue. About $4 billion that will go to the players, $4 billion that go to the NFL. They're just trying to decide what percentage each side is going to get.
Okay. If something does happen in the next day or so, what would happen? What would the schedule look like?
Well, they're trying desperately not to alter the schedule in any way. This is what's going to happen if they vote to recertify the union and it goes forward with the collective bargaining agreement on Monday. Wednesday, training camps could open. August 11th, preseason would start. By August 30th, teams would have to cut their rosters from 90 down to 75. And again, on the 3rd of September, they have to cut them down to 53, the final roster, so to speak. September 8th, the season would start. Here at home, the Detroit Lions would take on the Bucks on September 11th. And they're sticking with a 16-week schedule. One of the things they brought up was that they want to go to an 18-week schedule. That's not going to happen.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Thanks.
Stay tuned this week because hopefully they'll vote on Monday and we'll have football coming up soon. I know I am ready for some football.
Ready for some football, they are. Okay, thank you, Felix.
Thanks, Nerissa.
And Good Day continues right after the break.